Good evening, future techies. My name is Ryne Kerchner. I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment here for the Polytechnic Institute, and I want to welcome you to our School of Construction Management Technology YouTube live broadcast to give you some further insight to this department and the major you're admitted to. We have some great panelists who are going to join us here in a minute, kind of go through some prepared topics about this department. But first, I want to kind of give you some logistical aspects of this broadcast. You can interact with our YouTube live chat. Just log in with your Google account or create one real quick if you don't have one, and put in those questions that you want to know more about. We do have some prepared topics that we're going to go through, but we want to know what you want to know. So please send us those questions and let us know what you're wondering about, what you want some more information about. We do have a current construction management student in that chat as well who will respond to some questions, but we have a shared document that we're going to send some questions and pull some of those questions out of the chat as well and bring those to our panelists. So please log in, check that chat out, and let us know what you want to know. You could also, if you don't get your question answered tonight through the broadcast, send us an email at techrecruit@purdue.edu, and we'll respond to those questions later on, probably tomorrow at the very earliest. But with that, we'll go ahead and have our panelists introduce themselves, and then we'll get into our topics. So first up will be Dalton.
Hi guys, my name is Dalton Southard. I just finished my junior year in the construction management curriculum from Bluffton, Indiana in Northeast Indiana.
All right, thanks Dalton. And next up is Danielle.
Hello, I'm Danielle Gilbert. I'm one of two academic advisors in the School of Construction Management. I have been an advisor in construction management for 9 years now, and I'm also a Purdue alumnus.
All right, that's awesome. Thanks, Danielle. And last up is Mark.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Zimpfer. I'm an assistant professor of practice with the School of Construction Management Technology. I live here in West Lafayette. I come from about 30 years of construction background before I started teaching at Purdue. I'm also an alumnus of our master's program with construction management technology, and I teach the freshman level classes, our senior capstone course, and then all of the residential construction concentration courses as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you all very much. First up, we'll start with Danielle, just to kind of get the idea of what the first transition piece will be for our students coming into the fall semester. And typically that's going to be our Summer Transition Advising and Registration Program, or STAR. Normally that would have been on campus, but this year it's going completely virtual, so virtual STAR. And so Danielle, can you kind of give us a quick rundown of what that will look like, how you'll communicate with students and things along those lines?
Sure. So coming up this Monday, students are going to be emailed information on how to get into Brightspace, which is a system that you'll use a lot at Purdue, to take some, I guess, VSTAR classes, modules. I'm not exactly sure what they're using for the verbiage there, but you're going to go through some modules, basically about what we would go over in STAR a little bit if you were here on campus. And then once you complete that, you're actually going to fill out a Qualtrics survey that will tell us that you've completed it and that you finished. And somebody is going to send that information to the Polytechnic advisors, in which case we will reach out to you via another Purdue system called Boiler Connect, and we will ask you to make an appointment with us. I will say that Glorabelle and I are not starting until June 1st, so you won't make an appointment with us until June 1st, although we can start setting up appointments on Monday. And Glorabelle and I will both perform our meetings via Zoom.
All right, great. And just a clarification on the Boiler Connect, is that something that goes through their Purdue email address, or is that their personal email address? It
will specifically go to Purdue email.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's one thing definitely want to know and start checking at when you have that set up, is that Purdue email is going to be important as we go through this remote learning kind of situation for the summer and the VSTAR situation. So, and then to Mark, I want to kind of go into what has been going on right now with the online remote learning environment since we started that after spring break. How's that adjustment been for this department?
I think it's there was a break-in period, an adjustment period. I feel like our students and our faculty responded very quickly. We tried to keep a lot of open communication with our students. We expanded contact time that we were available. I mean, I was taking phone calls and emails from students on Saturdays and Sundays just to make sure we could cover different time zones and things like that. So I know a lot of our faculty got creative on the delivery. We were using TV shows. We were using the cameras set up on Purdue's campus that are on any campus construction sites. So we can kind of have some live action construction site access as opposed to working in the lab. So I think everyone grew into the platform as we went. I know we're continuing to develop more things for the fall, but I think nothing replaces the hands-on component, but we can come up with some unique activities and discussion tools to do the best we can.
Yeah, and just as a follow-up, just to clarify in case anybody's missed this so far, right now Purdue is scheduled and planning to have an on-campus fall semester. So obviously that's going to come with some adjustments, and maybe some of that's going to be some hybrid learning and lectures and things like that. And Mark, maybe you can follow up. Has there been any discussion yet? And I know it's probably still too early, but anything that might be adjusted for the fall semester in terms of the coursework for this area?
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. I think hybrid is going to be the term of the day. And I was thinking about this earlier. It's very much like a construction site. This fall, I think, is going to be like a construction site. So we ought to be well prepared, because in construction, we have these great plans in place, and then the real world weather, material delays, things like that happen, and we have to be able to react. So I think we're going to be in the same circumstance. We have a great plan going in for the fall to be face-to-face, to be fully online if need be, and hybrid as well. And I think it's probably going to take a little bit of all three. So we're gonna have multiple plans going in, and we'll be as prepared as we can be.
Right, great. And yeah, there's a campus safety task force right now working on recommendations for how to adjust and make sure everybody's safe and healthy during the fall semester as well. And Dalton, I'm going to turn to you and now and kind of get your perspective and your reaction to how things have gone for the second half of the semester with the remote learning situation.
Yeah, it actually went surprisingly well. I was the only construction course that I took this semester was CM400, the pre-construction capstone. So we're putting together our whole proposal for our project and dealing with the professors through WebEx primarily, and a little bit of email and some pre-recorded lessons. And then we also, since it is a group project throughout the entire semester, we had to, I actually created a personal room on WebEx so that my group could meet and we could get together and practice our presentation and finish our project and everything. It actually went really well. Our professors were on top of it completely, answering any questions that we had, and we're easily accessible.
All right, great. That's awesome. And Mark, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, Ryan, a quick follow-up to what Dalton said. That was the senior capstone project, so I got to be involved in that as one of the coaches. And I think one of the interesting things is our student teams, as they were presenting their project to our industry judges, a lot of the industry judges were telling our students that they had just come off of a Zoom meeting or a WebEx meeting, or they had just done a proposal on a massive construction project halfway across the country. And that's the way business is being done right now. So I think it was a really nice dovetail that our students were performing in the same platform, the same virtual world that multi-billion-dollar companies were trying to perform construction projects.
That's great to hear. Even I think a lot of what we do in the Polytechnic overall is preparation for industry experience, and seeing that that's already happening right now with this adjustment to this new situation we're in. That's whether we meant to it or not, it's happening anyway. So that's great. And back to Danielle, just kind of give us a quick rundown of what the plan of study looks like, how are the courses designed, and maybe Mark will follow up with that as well with this major.
Yeah, so something that I think our students really like about our major is that you do start in your major from freshman year. Your very first semester, you'll take a construction class. You'll take construction classes every semester after that. So the fact that you get to start in your major in those construction classes, and they're hands-on, they're going to have labs associated with them. And I think Mark's going to talk about the labs a little bit later, but very hands-on, lab-based. We have management classes sprinkled in our plan of study, of course, because we are a management major. The CM classes are going to have management components as well, but we're going to get some specific kind of Kerchner version management classes in there. We've got free electives, we've got selective classes, lots of options, lots of ways to earn minors, certificates, stuff like that. And I guess a number one question I get asked from students when I'm meeting with them, maybe one-on-one with their parents, is what math are they going to have to do once they're here at Purdue? Math is a big one. So the answer to that is that students have to go to Calculus 1, and that's as far as they have to go. They usually start in pre-calculus in their first semester, but we work with students individually. The other advisor, Glorabelle, and I will work with students individually to make sure that they're in the right math for them in their first semester.
That's great. And just to clarify, how is that determined, the math placement for our students?
We look at SAT scores, we look at ACT scores. A lot of times students take those exams when they are in their junior year. So maybe they've already taken a whole other math class since they took those tests. And so maybe those scores don't really accurately portray where they are with math. So if the SAT or ACT doesn't give them the math that they think that they're ready for, they also can take an ALEX math assessment, which would be on the new student tab in My Purdue, and that can also test them into a higher level math.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. And then Mark, just to kind of flow back to you about the course design. I know this curriculum is a little bit different in terms of how the classes are designed. Could you kind of go into detail with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Traditional curriculum would have had very siloed courses. For instance, estimating. Maybe you take estimating one class in one semester as a sophomore, and then you might get a little bit more during a semester as a senior. The new curriculum, we've gone with large block courses, 6 credit hours, 9 credit hours, and we've blended all these different construction topics together. Again, for instance, estimating, scheduling, site logistics, safety. We blend them together in the course. A lot of the courses, labs, and lectures will be team taught by the faculty, whoever the subject matter expert would be. They're also teamed learn. So we do a lot of group work, a lot of project-based work, working on construction plans and documents, case studies, things of that nature. So you really get to, with these block courses, you get to dive a little deeper into the material, and it's all based on construction projects. So from the time you're a freshman to the time you're a senior, you're really starting to dig into the terminology of construction, the paperwork, the flow of a construction project. You don't have to wait until later in the curriculum to start to learn about those things.
All right, great. And Dalton, I'm going to kind of turn it back to you, kind of get the student experience from what that looks like for you and how that's been basically how that's worked for your education so far.
Yeah, so like Mark said, it is a lot of, the block structure, and the classes are intended to be fully integrated. So, as he mentioned, with estimating, it used to be siloed, and now it's been thrown into the pre-construction classes. So I'll take it in CM 200 and CM 300, and obviously a little bit more of it in CM 400 with the capstone. And there's aspects of the design, estimating, plan reading, everything like that goes into those 00 courses like 200, 300, 400, and then like the site planning and actual construction management during the course of a project will be in the 250, 350, 450 courses. It's been really helpful for me to be able to experience a little bit of pre-construction and a little bit of construction each year, so that I'm never too rusty in either portion of it when I'm going into my internship or into the next year.
All right, that's great. Thank you very much for that experience and that perspective. And Danielle, you mentioned technical selectives and electives and minors as well. And we have a couple of minors that students have available to them in this area. Could you kind of talk about those minors for us?
Ryne, do you mean that the minors that we offer to students or the minors our students take?
both, perhaps? Maybe let's start with the ones that are offered.
Okay, we do have a construction management minor for students who don't want to necessarily major in it. The construction graphics students are a big cohort that take that minor, as well as interior design students take our minor. But students all over campus are able to take our minor if they want to. That's the only minor that we offer in-house. Popular minors that our students get are the construction graphics minor. So just like their major takes our minor, a lot of our students pursue their minor. That's the 3D modeling within construction graphics. The entrepreneurship certificate is a very popular certificate program that our students pursue. We have 4 free electives in our curriculum, so it's very easy to add on a minor, a certificate, something like that. The entrepreneurship certificate, maybe a student wants to own their own business one day, or even if they don't, it makes you an out-of-the-box thinker, which is really important to some businesses. Students can actually get that entire certificate by using only 1 free elective, and the rest of them just overlap with our classes. So as long as students know that they want to do something early on, there are a lot of minors and certificates that can completely overlap with classes that are required for our major.
Oh, that's great. It doesn't take up a whole lot of extra time or space in the plan study to get that done. That's awesome. All right, and then Mark, I'm going to turn it back to you because this department, this major offers 4 different specializations, and you mentioned that you kind of focus in on the residential. Could you talk a little bit about those and how students go into those specializations?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was another part of our curriculum that we changed. So as a freshman, you'll get an introduction to each one of our specializations. We have commercial, residential, healthcare, and MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. We actually offer another one as well, depending on popularity that particular semester, which is disaster restoration. So as they work through the curriculum, they'll get that introduction as a freshman. Then as a sophomore, every student gets 2 lectures and 2 labs, which adds up to a decent amount of time in each one of those or specializations or concentrations. That way they kind of get to see the whole gamut of what our industry does out in the field. By the time they become a junior in CM 300, they will pick a concentration. Now, this doesn't mean that's what you're going to do for a living necessarily. It just means that you have an interest in that particular concentration. So in 300, we'll spend, for instance, in residential, they'll spend 11 weeks with me, 1 day a week, 3 hours. And we do combination of lecture lab. We get out in the field. We go see historic architecture. We go to Frank Lloyd Wright House here in West Lafayette to talk about design. We really get into what it means to be in residential construction. I know the healthcare concentration heads over to one of our industry partners, IU Health, and does a visit there with their construction people. So it's a really great opportunity to learn a little bit more about a sector deep into construction. I think Dalton is probably a perfect example of one of our students who was involved in a whole lot, but kind of mixed up what concentration he was in based on just wanting to learn more. And I'll let Dalton speak to that.
Yeah. So, like Mark mentioned, there is all those different concentrations. I myself in CM 300 was in the MEP concentration. Again, that's mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So what that is, again, it's the 11 weeks, 3 hours a week. And what we did was we basically performed an estimate on an entire construction project strictly on the MEP aspects of it. And then moving into our capstone classes, our 400 level classes, the MEP team will do a similar project, but they will have to do it based on the design that's given to them by a commercial group. So in my capstone class, I was actually involved in a commercial group. So I was heavily involved in the design and working with my MEP team. Again, it's a lot of overlap between those teams to determine what each team needs to do and how we need the MEP incorporated into our project. Again, as Mark said, it doesn't pigeonhole you by any means. I was in the MEP concentration in 300. I did commercial in 400. I've had 2 different commercial internships. I'm on my way to an electrical internship this summer. I've been involved in some student orgs that are on the residential side. I've had a lot of contact with companies in the residential sector. So by no means are you pigeonholed based on what major or concentration you choose.
All right, that's great that you get that some flexibility in kind of exploring all of those different areas. That's awesome. Do want to pull, we have a question from the chat, and Dalton, I'll actually start with you since you probably deal with this the most. Is a laptop needed, or would an iPad work fine for the classwork and the coursework that you're doing?
Yes, definitely need a laptop. I mean, we do have access to campus computers, but if you're trying to do anything during the day while classes are in session, you're definitely going to want a laptop. I also recommend to stay away from Apple. Not to bash on them at all, but they don't work as well with Bluebeam or AutoCAD or Revit. There are quotations and everything you can work with on that, but it's just a lot simpler to do it with an HP or a Dell or anything like that.
Yeah, and the softwares that Dalton was just listing there for everyone, those are construction software that the industry uses on a very widespread basis. Revit is a CAD system. Bluebeam is a takeoff system to do material takeoffs of blueprints. So we do have computer labs within the department that the students can use those computers when class isn't in session and use the software as well. But it is nice to be able to access those remotely as well.
And Mark, just to follow up, is the software available for our students to get cheap, free? How does that work?
And Danielle could probably help me on this one as well. But in a lot of cases, we get so many seats, and we usually have enough seats to cover everybody, and we can always add more. And we do have our computer labs are heavily used. I mean, during the day by classes, but you can go in almost any time of the night and weekends, and there'll be students in there having pizza or meeting with a faculty member, working with those computers and the software. It's pretty active place. We've never had a complaint that we didn't have enough access to those particular softwares.
That's great. And Danielle, I believe, is in one of our construction management labs right now. And Danielle, do you have anything else you want to add for this topic?
Just to piggyback on what Mark was saying, so the computer lab that I'm in, I believe it holds maybe 38 students if they're all using the computers, and then some students bring in their laptops as well. And then there's a computer lab just next door that holds about 36, I think, and they are both open 24/7. So like Mark said, maybe class is in session, maybe it's not. Sometimes the calendar on the door says that there's a class in here, but they're actually outside doing surveying, or they're actually across campus in the MEP lab. And so if you can tell that there's nobody in here, even though it says a class is in here, you can definitely sit down and do your work. So yeah, not having access to computers isn't typically a problem.
All right, that's great. Thank you. And Mark, I'm going to turn back to you because you mentioned, and Dalton, we'll get your experience as well, but we'll start with Mark about the senior capstone project. Is that a requirement for the students in this department to do that? And what does that look like for them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of our plan of study. And with the new curriculum, the capstone is actually 2 semesters. So the first semester is going to be that pre-construction, and Dalton just went through it. So you're planning the job, you're bidding the job, you're putting together your construction documents and your contract. We also talk about company structure, like how would you develop your company from scratch? How would you market your company? Bring in industry experts to come in and talk along with the faculty. And then in the second semester, that's our CM 450 class. That's going to be the second half of the senior capstone. And that's going to be the kind of, all right, now we're in the phase of running the project. And that schedule right now kind of looks like every week that we spend in class will be approximately 1 month on your job site. So what do you have to do to run that job site for a month? What type of pay applications, inspections, insurance, deliveries, any OSHA issues that you would have to handle. So we kind of sort all of our curriculum into pre-construction and construction. So the capstone will be the same way, 2 semesters, 1 in pre-construction and 1 in construction.
And Dalton, I think you mentioned that you're starting the capstone, or you're in one now or finishing one up. Could you clarify what that is all about for you?
Yeah, so this past semester I took the CM400 capstone, which is the pre-construction capstone. So, as Mark mentioned, we're doing our estimates, we're, doing our contracts and our schedules, and putting together safety and quality plans. Overall, putting together a big document that is our, what we will propose to the industry to, perform the work. Obviously, that big project, it's semester long, is the big deliverable for that class, but there are little aspects each week that help to develop further than just our project. So, like Mark mentioned, we had a ton of guest speakers. Even when the classes were online, we had recorded sessions with guest speakers and everything. We can ask questions, and really kind of helps us to build ourselves as individuals in the construction industry, as personalities, and kind of start to find that balance in our lives. As well as learning the actual pre-construction aspects. So it was the pre-construction capstone was an excellent course, and I'm excited to get into the construction capstone with Mark.
All right, great, thank you. And Dalton, will actually stick with you for this next question. How have the faculty been in your lectures and labs and supporting your learning, and what kind of hands-on experiences have you had within this major so far?
Yeah, in my experience, it's been excellent. Professors are typically always available. Well, they are always available for the classes that they're planned for. They usually have TAs as well. On top of that, Mark has said even before everything went to online, Mark and I would email or text back and forth on Saturdays or Sundays if something needed done, or if I had a question for him, or vice versa. Many other professors have done that. They're always available in their lectures and labs to make sure that we're getting that full understanding. But the thing that's most important for me so far has just been that availability of those professors to help us not only with our classes, but also as we're developing into professionals within the industry.
And Mark, just want to follow up with you then. How do you see your role in terms of faculty support, and how the faculty are involved with our students in that regard?
Yeah, I think that's the most critical piece. Whether we're face-to-face or we're in a hybrid or an online format, you have to have that communication and that one-on-one time when it's needed, and sometimes even when it's not, even just to learn more about each other. We do spend a lot of time together in class and labs in these big block classes, so we try to get to know our students. For instance, in our freshman course, the 150 course, it's a 6 credit hour course, but we offer the students in that course between the 4 instructors that are in the course. We also have undergraduate teaching assistants that are mainly in the lab. We offer 60 hours of out of course contact time for our students. So if they're struggling, if we see that they're struggling, if they just want to come and chat and hang out in the construction lab, we're there, and we try to make sure we understand that these are big courses. We want to provide as much help as possible, as much one-on-one help as possible, to make sure that the students are grasping the concept of that day or that week before we move on in the curriculum. So it's something that we really strive to do. As a matter of fact, we don't have office hours. On our door, our name badges list student hours. So our department head and our faculty is very focused on providing that key time for our students.
No, that's great, and that's kind of one thing I always recommend to students that I talk with is get to know your faculty on a personal level. Whether it's going to talk with them during the student hours, I like that. It's a nice term, just because faculty they're people too. They want to get to know you. They want to help you succeed. That's why they're here, to help you learn and be successful. So yeah, definitely reach out, chat with your faculty for sure. Danielle, I'm going to turn back to you and ask about our professional work experience or internship requirement for this major, and how do students that you work with as an advisor, how do they get that accomplished?
Sure. So we do have an 800-hour construction-related work experience requirement that students have to complete before they graduate. It can be anything. It can be an internship. It can be summer work. It can be labor. It just has to be construction related. We're not too picky about what that is. We don't hand you and say, here, Dalton, here's your internship with Helix. Enjoy. But we do offer 2 very large career fairs every year, one in the fall and one in the spring. Almost 200 companies came to our last fall career fair, and I don't see that declining anytime soon. So while the career fair is open to every student at the university, it is our career fair. We run it. The companies are coming to hire our students. So we prep students on how to get their resumes ready, how to talk to companies, their elevator pitches, and all of that. So we bring in all these companies. That's how most of our students get their internships, I would say, is through these career fairs. Some students come from a construction family or something like that, and so they get their hours that way. But I would say our career fair for sure is the biggest way. For students who don't get an internship and they're still wanting one after the career fair, the Center for Career Opportunities is a great place. That's a university website that you can go to and see other companies that are still looking for interns. These internships are paid. They're usually paid very well. Companies are coming from all over the country. I know Dalton's going to talk about his internship experiences. You can go to Texas, California. We have students that go to Hawaii. So, I mean, our students literally scatter all over the country in the summer to do their internships. And these hours can start accumulating, these 800 hours, right after students graduate. So if you've done anything during high school, that's awesome. It's great for your resume, but we won't start counting your hours until after you graduate from high school.
All right, that's good to know, especially if students are looking to do something in the summer, coming into this major, they have that opportunity to start building those hours. That's great. And then Dalton, turn to you, see what kind of experiences you've had, anything coming up, and how you found those internships as well.
Yeah, so I'll start with just how I found them. Both of my internships that I've experienced and the one that I have coming up this summer, all 3 I found at the career fair. As a freshman, I went to the career fair, obviously completely green. I was not in a construction family. I had no construction experience, and I walked up and was personable. I gave my elevator pitch and handed out my resume, and got quite a few calls back. Again, there's 200 companies that come to our fall career fair for a total of like 400 students within our entire curriculum, freshman to senior. And a lot of those companies are hiring multiple people. So that first summer I was with Shield Sexton. They are a commercial general contractor in Indianapolis. I got placed on a road job at Ball State, and actually got there 2 days after they broke ground there, and was involved the entire summer through the entire construction process of that road project, and actually opened the road at 5 p.m. on my last day of work, which was an awesome thing to see. In that internship, I was also involved in the pre-construction and bidding phase for the next phase of that project, which was a dining facility. I wasn't heavily involved. Again, I was only involved in bidding and a little bit of the scheduling and some of the preliminary groundbreaking work. But overall, that was a really good experience. It was really good to get my feet wet in the construction industry, first off in the field, so that I could see things going together. I could, jump in and perform some of the work if I was interested in it. And that was the best way that I could see to gain experience and, build my construction knowledge. The summer after my sophomore year, I worked with FH Passion. They're a commercial general contractor in Chicago. They also do a lot of airport work. So there I was an estimating intern. And so I spent most of the summer using programs like Bluebeam and some of the scheduling softwares that we use, and estimating and takeoff softwares that we use in class. Was able to use that on my internships and secure some work for the company. Obviously not single-handedly within the estimating department, but I was also pulled into a design build joint venture project for the O'Hare Airport, and I was able to do some of the scheduling and some of the preliminary estimates for that job that's actually recently broke ground in their airfield. So that was a really cool experience. I'm very thankful for that, and getting to see some of the office and contract work that goes into the construction industry. Now, this upcoming summer, I will be working with Helix Electric. They are obviously an electrical contractor based in California. I will be working out of the Oakland, San Francisco office. They're paying for my apartment out there and sending me to a job site somewhere within an hour radius of the office. And I'm still waiting on that information, but I did, just receive this past week information that I will be able to go out there and have the full internship experience. Obviously, with all this COVID stuff going on, it was up in the air, and there have been some different circumstances with some of my friends having internships pushed back or delayed or even pulled completely, or just pushed until like next semester or next summer, just because of all of this going on. But companies have been working with us, and I'm very thankful that I still get to go out to California with Helix.
I mean, yeah, that's awesome that you still get to have that experience this summer, and it seems like you've had a lot of awesome experiences overall the last few years as well. That's great. Wow. So one thing I do want to bring up from one of our chat is the participation, the enrollment of our female students within this department. And maybe Danielle, you can speak to that first, and maybe Mark, any follow-up that you have as well.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that question would probably be asked while I was mowing my yard today. I'm actually really proud of how our female population has grown just in my 9 years here. I think my first year here, we had maybe 20 students total who were female. So they oftentimes were the only female in their class, and most of them didn't mind, but it was just something, you're mindful of. Now I would say we're somewhere around 15-20% female. So we've had a huge incline of female, and it's been awesome. I mean, I doubt there's ever a class where we have one woman in a class. I mean, maybe that could happen, but I think it's a little, probably doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, Danielle's correct. We've seen a giant increase. And it's great when we see companies coming back to the career fair and they have alumni of our program that are female. When we have half of a lab in a freshman course, and there's 18 students in the lab, and 9 of them in that particular lab section are female. It's been great to see the numbers really increase. I will say, and I've said this to our students before, our female students are very high performing. They are, it's incredible, the attention to detail, and they do extraordinarily well when they get out into industry because of that particular talent or trait. So we're excited to see where we can take the program in the future, but we're definitely heading in the right direction.
No, that's great. That's a great participation percentage for enrollment. And I do want to point out and just kind of give a quick plug for next Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern time. There will be a broadcast specifically regarding all of the different support resources, clubs, learning community, anything that's going on related to our women in technology and our female enrollment, and everything you can get involved with that. So we'll have some representatives from our women in technology student organization to answer your questions that you have and talk about their experiences. And actually some alumni as well are going to come back and chat with that broadcast to talk about what they're doing now and how the Polytechnic helped them get there as well. So just real quick, want to maybe revisit this, and Mark, to turn this question to you. Do you have any idea of how the labs might be affected in the fall semester with the adjustments that might come about?
Well, I think we're still in that development phase. I mean, information has been coming out from the task force that Purdue set up. President Daniels has been very good about trying to keep us updated. He just had an update, I believe, on Tuesday. Today we got an update from the Board of Trustees. So I think what we're going to see, this is a maybe. It's the goal to have everyone face to face. So I think what they're going to try to do is spread our labs out a little bit and take the number of students per lab down. We've been working in our construction lab where I do a lot of work We've been working on plans on how to keep the students and the instructors safe in that lab, so we can still do those hands-on labs that we have. We build two tiny houses in the lab each semester. We build a 2-story steel structure in that lab each semester, and we'd like to keep that component. So since construction personnel, we follow under OSHA guidelines. We teach OSHA that we get our OSHA 10-hour card in our program and the OSHA 30-hour card. So we're very mindful of safety to begin with. And in our construction lab, we wear what we call PPE, personal protective equipment, which is usually hard hat, goggles, gloves, the right type of clothing. I can see in our lab this semester, we will probably add masks to that. And we will look at cleaning tools between labs, spreading our students out so we have more labs throughout the course of the day with fewer students per lab. But I know it's Purdue's goal, it's Polytechnic's goal, it's our goal to be face-to-face, but do it in a safe manner for the students and the instructors.
Yeah, like you said, it's still pretty early in the whole process of what those recommendations, what the decisions will be made. But certainly keep an eye on our social media, Purdue social media, your email as well. Those announcements will be made as we go through the next couple of months on what those adjustments will be to make sure, like you said, everybody's safe and healthy as well. And a question from the chat is, did a student took a class in high school where they used a program called Inventor, and I was wondering to know if that was going to be part of a plan of study or anything involved with that as well. And maybe Mark, you can speak to that.
Yeah, that's not the program that we use currently. We do update programs, and we get this question quite a bit, whether it's from a prospective student or frankly from our construction advisory council. We have about 78 companies that are on that advisory council, and we may hear from one of those companies that, we use, brand XYZ estimating software, and we want you to teach that. Our answer is we cannot teach all the estimating softwares that are out there, all the scheduling softwares that are out there. We just can't. So what we try to do is pick some of the ones that are the most widespread as far as their use goes, and we teach the concept behind the software. It's one thing to fill in drop-down menus out of a software, but it's understanding why do we sequence things the way we do on a schedule, where are the hiccups, and really understanding the concept. And if we can teach you the concept, along with a little bit of software skills, it won't make any difference what software the particular company is that you go to work for is using, because you understand the basics and you'll be able to pick up the software as you go. So that's kind of our standard answer if it's not a software that we use on a daily basis.
I think that makes sense, and I appreciate the information on that one specifically. Dalton, I'm going to turn back to you and just kind of get a sense of what you're involved in student organization wise, anything related to your major or things that you're involved in at Purdue outside of that as well.
Yeah, so something that I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the concentrations was that I was involved in the residential student org. So that's NAHB, the National Association of Home Builders. So that helped me to get involved with the residential contractors in the area and around the country. Gave me a lot of connections with fellow students and overall the industry, as a whole. Mark is actually our academic advisor for that group. I was president for the 2019 year, so spring and fall of 2019. I actually just passed that off at the beginning of this semester. That was an awesome, experience to get to do the competition team for 2 years in a row, and get to do some community outreach and community service projects, and work with the Lafayette United Way on a service project. Actually, it gave me a lot of opportunities to just do different things within the industry and meet new people and just experience new things. Before I took over as president of NAHB, I was actually secretary of ABC, which is the Associated Builders and Contractors. Again, construction related, kind of just industry and community outreach. I wasn't super involved in that, but and I actually, moved into NHB from that. But again, a great group. They do competitions where they, travel and give their presentation and put together their proposal packet. There's a few other student orgs that I wasn't involved in. I'm sure Danielle will probably list a few of those. I've also been inducted into SLC, our honor society. It's Sigma Lambda Chi. It's a nationwide honor society for construction management. We do service projects for that, and we actually do BC Mentors, which is, I guess now it's CM Mentors, where it's basically just a tutor group. So I'm actually one of the tutors for that group, and I'll help some of the younger students in the program with different assignments, and we help with exam reviews and everything like that. During my time as president of NAHB, I was involved in the Construction Leadership Council, which is just a group of students who are the officers for each of the respective student organizations within our major, or within our curriculum. We, met with each officer and each group to kind of just integrate our entire curriculum. And even if we are, we have groups that are involved in residential only or commercial only or MEP only, we kind of come together and put together events for the major as a whole. And that helps us with our community outreach and with our construction industry outreach. Other than that, I've been involved in in a ministry program on campus, recently changed its name to Launch Student Ministry. I was an associate with them, just working on, again, community outreach and campus outreach, just, trying to spread that word. Other than that, I'm sure there's other, like, intramurals. I'm sure there's been other stuff that I've done. I can't really think of any right now, though.
Well, it sounds like you've been pretty heavily involved, and especially those leadership roles that you've had is very important to not only develop your experience in that, but then build that resume, get involved with other students, maybe help lead some change as well. And Danielle, since you work with a lot of our students, what other organizations do you see our students getting involved in?
Well, before I answer that question, Ryan, I will say I've been uploading a lot of pictures from our senior class of 2020 onto our advising Facebook page, just kind of a look over their 4 years. And I think Dalton is in almost as many pictures as our graduating seniors because he is so involved in everything. But other things that our students can get involved in, basically every concentration that Mark and Dalton talked about has a student org involved with it. Also, there's a minority construction organization, tons of organizations outside of construction. I mean, you can get involved in just about anything you could ever think about. And then there's the learning community that isn't necessarily a student organization, but we kind of treat it like a student organization. For instance, Dalton was a member of the learning community his freshman year, and then he continued on as kind of a mentor. And we keep that going. Where like Trevor Craig, who is handling the chat right now, she started her freshman year as well and is continuing as a mentor. So, like I said, we treat that as a student org as well. That have the upperclassmen kind of come to the events and kind of mentor the freshmen and answer questions because they've already been there, done that.
Yeah, that's great. And you're right. There are a ton of organizations. I think we're over 1,000 clubs and organizations at Purdue. So a lot of ways to get involved. Obviously, a lot of different orgs within the department, within the major, or things that are just more fun and social to get involved with as well. Definitely recommend checking out all those different things. And if there's something somehow in those 1,000 that doesn't match up with what you're interested in, get some students together, find an advisor, and you can start your own. So you can get that on your resume and build that other connection that other students might find with it as well. I just want to bring up something real quick. Our technical director, John, in the background, just let me know that he was creating some graphics to put on our broadcast. And one of them was accidentally incorrect related to our construction graphics minor. So I just want to put out there, it's polytechnic.purdue.edu/CG-BIM-minor. So if you want to take a little bit more closer look at that minor, that's the correct address. You can find that through our majors list as well, minors and majors page. So if you're interested in that, take a look through that site and we'll be good to go. So Mark, I'm going to turn back to you and ask a question. So you said you've been heavily involved in industry before you were teaching. So how do our faculty stay connected with industry partners? We kind of touched on that here and there, but any little more detail you can share with us?
A lot of our faculty do come from industry background. So, you work hard to maintain the connections. A lot of our faculty will consult with industry. We do in-house projects for our industry partners if they need something researched, whether it's a technique or software or company planning. We have a content expert for almost every area of construction. So our industry partners that I mentioned before, the 78 or so advisory council companies, they know they can reach out to us at any time to work on a project for them. We've done a great job of setting up not only the internships for our students, but our faculty members can do internships as well. And they can actually go and work for one of our CAC members and either work on a specific task, or if the faculty member feels like they need to brush up on maybe the latest site logistics planning and issues, they can go work for one of our CAC members for the summer and be right back out in industry and bringing that content and that real world experience back to the classroom. I believe in the fall, we're trying to track our contact with the industry. And I think we had well over 70 members from our industry group come and take an active role in the classroom to deliver material, talk about case studies, do Q&A with our students. I know I brought in a insurance company, construction accountant, and a construction lawyer just to create a panel to talk about, if you go out and start your own company someday in construction, here's some things that you need to keep in mind. So we try to be very creative and keep that link, because it's not like it used to be. When students leave our program, this is not work your way up in that construction company over a 20-year period. Within a very short time period, within just the first few years, you're going to be handling a lot of responsibility. That's the way the industry works now, and that's what we teach, that you have to be ready to go out and take the reins and go run projects. So with that in mind, we have to keep our tie with industry very tight, keep them in our classroom, and keep that communication going full time.
Oh, that's great. You get a lot of good feedback from those industry partners through that advisory council. That's awesome. And you kind of actually led into my next question. Mark, we'll stick with you. We kind of talked about what students are doing when they graduate in maybe a few years. What are some of those career pathways, career titles, job titles that students are going into when they graduate, and what they can expect from that?
Yeah, we see a wide variety of titles. So we talked about our concentration areas: the residential, commercial, healthcare, and disaster. We also see a lot of heavy civil or heavy highway work as well. So our students head everywhere. Danielle said it on their internships. It's even more widespread when we're talking about that full-time employment. You've graduated, it's time to go earn some money, maybe pay back mom and dad for tuition. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Once they head out, they head all over the world, because some of our companies that we work with are international, multi-billion-dollar companies. So you usually will start out like an assistant project engineer or an assistant project manager and work your way up. Some of our students go the foreman route, which is going to be more in the field. Some go the office route. And that doesn't mean that's where your career stays. That just may be where you start your career. As Danielle mentioned earlier, we have students that maybe go back to a family company. They grew up in construction. They were coming to build on their skill set, and now they're going to go back to eventually take over that company. So I think we see a wide variety in every phase: pre-construction, construction, even building maintenance after the fact. So we see a wide gamut of career opportunities. And when you look at those sectors now, as far as permanent employment, we know that the nation's highways and bridges need a lot of work. I mean, 70% of the bridges in the country are deficient right now. We know healthcare is on the top of everybody's mind. It was before COVID, just because of the aging population, and now even more so. We're running a deficit for the last 9 years on housing. We need more housing. So almost every phase of construction, we need people. And that's why we have 200 companies show up to our career fair, and our students get multiple job offers. They're highly sought after. It's part of the Purdue brand. It's part of what we've built in construction management, and it's a very desirable job placement industry right now. The companies need good, skilled people who are ready to work, and they're willing to pay very well to find those people.
Yeah, I think you covered quite a bit, and that's great to hear. Danielle, since you've worked with a lot of our students over the past 9 years in this department, anything you want to add into what Mark had to say?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things when students come back to campus is to hear about their internship experiences. And what's great about our career fair is that most of the companies that come back to recruit our students, they send back our alumni. So our career fair is just one huge, basically reunion of maybe a group of students who just graduated just this last semester, and then students who graduated 30 years ago. So it's a great time, and our students, even the ones who've already graduated, everybody stays pretty tight knit.
Wow, that's great. And then Dalton, I want to kind of hear from you. You still have one more year to go, and what's your career goal? What's your trajectory that you're looking at for yourself?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be graduating in December, so only one semester left. Honestly, I'm not really sure where I'm going to end up. I'm not really sure where I want to go. I have already had 3 full-time interviews, and at the end of each interview, they've asked me how I want to move forward, and I kind of tell them that I don't know. I still have my internship to experience in California. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm excited that I still get to do it. And if I get an offer there, that's going to be a big one to consider in the electrical sector and across the country. But otherwise, I'm not sure. I see a lot of my friends going into like big commercial GCs. I've interned with obviously big commercial GCs. That's probably where most of my interest lies right now. But again, I'm looking forward to experiencing this electrical sector. And honestly, a few years down the road, like Mark said, I would be very interested in eventually, opening up my own residential and light commercial construction company. Obviously, I'm hoping that Mark will stick around and help me out with getting that started once that comes up. But yeah, still figuring everything out, to be completely honest with you.
Oh no, and that's fair. And like you talked about, you had a lot of different experiences that have kind of helped you figure that out. And one more coming up that maybe that'll solidify what you want to do. So good to hear that you have a good, again, like Mark mentioned and Danielle mentioned, a lot of options for these students when they're graduating from this program. And then the last question I want to ask everybody, and Dalton, we'll stick back with you, is what advice do you have for students entering this department to help them be successful?
I'm going to start this with a little bit of a cliche. This major is very much you get out of it what you put into it. This major is not designed to fail anyone. If you put in the work to do the work, and you put in the effort, and you're working with your classmates and you're working with your professors, you're going to be successful. There's infinite opportunities to be successful, and it's really just there for you to make the most of. If you put in the work, you're going to be successful. I had a little bit of a note. Just make sure that you network, build as much of a network, whether it be LinkedIn. Obviously, we have our career fair. Hand out resumes and network with people and be a human being and talk to people. That's the biggest thing that will get you opportunities in this industry. It's very much a people-based industry, and people like to see you acting, you know, like a human being and not like you're better than anyone or not acting like a robot, you know. So just have fun and work hard, and you're going to be successful.
All right, thank you very much. And then Danielle, what would you suggest for our students to help them be successful?
Yes, I have three major words of wisdom. One is attend class. You don't have mom and dad waking you up anymore. You don't have this, Purdue's not going to call mom and dad and say, hey, so-and-so wasn't in class today. What's going on? It's your responsibility. College is your responsibility now. So go to class. Some classes take attendance, some don't, whether they do or not. Go to class, because a lot of the exam material is going to be what you learn, what the teacher said, not what is in the textbook. My second one, get involved, but not too involved. Dalton is Superman. Not everybody can handle what Dalton is able to do. So definitely get involved in a couple of student organizations, but don't. I had a young lady who was an officer of 4 organizations in her freshman year, and that was just way too much. But, you know, test the waters, hold an officer position in one of the organizations. Companies love to see leadership. My last one is don't be afraid to ask for help. Our professors are so personable. They are here to help. They want to help. My door is always open. Glorabelle, the other advisor, her door is always open. So even if you're not, if it's a random question that you think is just the most random question ever, come to Glorabelle or myself, ask us questions. We know a lot. Like I said, I'm a Purdue alumnus, so I know a lot about campus in general. And then come to our faculty. Our faculty are there to help. Come to BC Mentors. Dalton mentioned BC Mentors. Purdue itself has a lot of free resources before you have to resort to hiring a tutor. So come to a professor, come to an advisor, ask a fellow student if they know what resources might be available to them if you are having some problems. Those are my 3 big areas of wisdom.
No, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned the free resources that Purdue has. So within the Polytechnic, we have what's called Best Building Excellence for Students in Technology. So students who've done well in classes will meet one-on-one with you for free to go in depth and kind of cover those concepts you might be having some issues with. We also have the Academic Success Center with sessions on how to study, time management, prioritizing your scheduling and what you need to get done, how to not procrastinate, which is certainly a thing that potentially can happen. And then along the same lines, we also have supplemental instruction, which classes that Purdue offers overall. Math is one of those, physics, things like that, that are part of your plan of study, will be offered sessions for students who, again, done well to attend those lectures with you and meet with the faculty very closely. They'll kind of go, again, more in depth and kind of cover those topics and answer those questions that you have in relation to what you're learning in the class as well. So like Danielle mentioned, take advantage of those resources and ask us, ask your faculty how you can access those at any point in time. And then lastly, Mark, I want to turn to you, your advice as well.
Yeah, I wish I had something, brilliant and new to add to what Dalton and Danielle said, but I always seem to fall back on, how do you survive in this industry? How do you thrive? How do you keep climbing the ladder? And it's kind of those old sayings that we're all used to. There's no substitute for hard work. And this Dalton said it, in our department, you need to show up, you need to come to class, you need to put in the grind of the labs and the lectures, and you need to build and work in teams. And sometimes your team doesn't work out, and you fail that project, not fail as a grade, but the project didn't go as well as it should have gone, and you work within the group to fix things. That's what we're trying to teach. I tell our freshmen multiple times that if you come to construction and you think that, magically these buildings pop out of the ground and bridges get built and roads show up, that's the easy part. Putting things together is relatively simple. There's only so many ways we can attach 2 pieces of steel together. The difficult part of construction is how people oriented it is. So we want to work on those communication skills. So we need you to work hard. We need you to become good at communicating verbally, face to face. We need you to become a good writer so you can communicate in a written format, which we do a lot in construction. And again, just like the industry, like Danielle said, ask for help. When I am out building, there is not hardly a day that goes by that I don't ask for help. I call an inspector, whatever jurisdiction is inspecting my job. I call a subcontractor, a supplier, an engineer, and I ask for help. And we ask our students to do the same thing. Just reach out. We have so many resources. We have the time, and we want to do that. And this is the place. Our lab is a fun place. We expect the building to look a little bit, a little lean to the left or lean to the right? We're going to make mistakes in the lab. And that's, we're going fast. We're having a great time. We're learning skills. But we say, hey, make mistakes here. This is why we're here at Purdue. We're going to learn. We're going to play hard. We're going to work hard. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to learn how to fix our mistakes. And that way, when you leave, you're ready to hit the ground running for a great career. You just need to put in the time and effort while you're here.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you all very much for your words of wisdom. I do want to put out a plug for our Techies Today podcast. Mark was a guest on episode 9 on construction management and limitless opportunities. So I know he talked a little bit tonight about what those are, but if you want to listen to our podcast, wherever you download your podcast, Techies Today and episode 9, you can hear a little bit more of what Mark had to say about that. I also want to give a shout out to Trevor Craig in our chat room responding to questions that you had. Heard she's been doing a great job. I can't see it myself, but John's telling me she's doing a fantastic job. So thank you, Trevor, for doing that. And then just want to end with saying thank you to all of you at home for joining us tonight and listening to our broadcast. And thank you to our panelists for sharing their insights and information about this department as well. This broadcast, you can watch it again on our website, polytechnic.purdue.edu/live. You can watch this broadcast as well as all the other broadcasts that we've done this semester and previously. I think we've done probably close to 20-ish at this point. So take a look, see if you want to look at any of those other ones and see what other students and faculty had to say about what's going on here at the Polytechnic. Like I mentioned before, if you didn't get a question answered tonight, please send us an email at techrecruit@purdue.edu. And we also have a ton of resources on our admitted student landing page. So polytechnic.purdue.edu, and you can see the admitted students link and see resources for this department, other videos, our social media, any way that you can get connected with us. You can get a request a call, send us an email, whatever works for you. We're trying to obviously get connected with you in any way that we can during this current situation. So reach out to us, let us know what you need to know, and we'll be able to help you out. So once again, thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you to our panelists. And I'll end with have a great night and boiler up.